Alright, here we go. I'm your host, Doug Thornton. This is American VINDICTA. So, I haven't been on the radio in a couple days. Sorry about that. My wife had an emergency C-section. We now have our newest member of our family, our little baby boy. He makes number 2 for the sons. So, now I got 3 girls, 2 boys. I think I'm pretty well set. As the Bible would say, I have many arrows in my quiver. So praise God, everybody was safe and came out all right. Now we're back home, and I'm back on the air to tell you that Title 42 ends December 21st. Title 42, if you were not aware, goes a little something like this. Title 42 expulsions are removals by the United States government of persons who have recently been in a country where a communicable disease was present. The extent of authority for contagion-related expulsions is set out by law in 42 U.S.C. 26(5). During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Trump administration used this provision, Section 265, to generally block land entry for many migrants. This practice has been continued by the racist Biden administration with an expansion. The program allows the United States Border and U.S. Customs and Border Protection to prohibit the entry of persons who potentially pose a health risk by being subject to previously announced travel restrictions or because by unlawfully entering the country to bypass health screening measures. It used what was implemented under the Trump administration and has continued under the Biden administration to prohibit asylum seekers from lawfully petitioning for country or last transit and their movement into the United States. Persons subject to the order are not held in congregate areas for processing and are instead immediately expelled back to their home country of origin. If they are unable to be returned to the country of their last transit, means the last country that they came through, which is why we call this the stay in Mexico policy, because everybody's coming through Mexico. Or if you did the exact opposite and you came through Canada, you would have to stay in Canada, but that's never talked about. The Border Patrol would then work with its interagency partners to expel that person to their country of origin. Expulsions under Title 42 are not based on immigration status and are tracked separately from immigration. In some cases, this is not possible, and migrants may be expelled to a third country that will accept them based on previous residency. At this discretion of the administration, Title 42 can be used even for people who would normally have temporary protected status based on their country of origin. As of November 15, 2022, Title 42 is currently unenforceable as a D.C. federal judge, Emmett G. Sullivan, ruled that the policy is a violation of the Administrative Procedure Act. Now, one thing that's really funny about that is that Trump was hit up and down by the media, by Biden, by Obama, by all the fairy tale creatures that are out there in Neverland, and said that he was xenophobic, that he was racist, that he hated Hispanics. You heard all the rumors. And the Biden administration continued on with it. So now, at this very pivotal point in time, does anyone else notice the correlating things that are happening right now? Title 42 ends December 21st. By January, our economy, and I don't know how we could ever dig ourselves out of the grave, but our economy is going to really start to tiptoe to the end of the line and make that plummeting fall down the cliff And that snowball effect is supposedly now going to be not just hitting the stock market, not just hitting the housing market, but now they are expecting tens of millions of automobiles to be repossessed by the banks. How does that help anybody? How does all of these things help us right now? Oh, by the way, your economy's in free fall. You may lose your home. You may lose your car. We may go back to lockdown procedures again because of the tri-pandemic. And now we're going to let in millions of more people to suck off the rest of whatever is left that they siphoned out of the gas tank of America. Look, my heart goes out to anyone who's trying to come into this country and better yourselves, but there's a legal way to do it. Okay, now that's my spiel. Whatever. Crime's going to go up. Homelessness is going to go up. Squatting is going to go up in vacant housing. Domestic crime, domestic terrorism is going to go up. Rape is going to go up. Kidnapping is going to go up. Murder will. Assaults will. Sexual assaults will. This is statistically proven with every, how would you say this? Migration of people from other countries into other countries. The problem is going to be that all of you who live on the border, and I'm 10 hours from the border, but all you who live on the border are going to be the first ones grossly impacted. Just like now in El Paso. This is incredible to watch, but I mean, I've been to El Paso and I've seen it before, and if you're from the El Paso area or the Rio Grande Valley area of Texas, you've seen this before and you're not surprised. But now, and this is being reported on InfoWars, illegal swarm is crossing busy El Paso highways as the city hits its official, quote, breaking point. And on the road, the hazardous sign says, watch for unexpected pedestrians. Alright, now, that's kind of been around for a while. I remember going to work one day while on the border, and we had to stop and detain like 80 people who just randomly in their big, huge group crossed the freaking, I think it was I-10 maybe? Crossed the interstate right in front of us, almost caused a huge pile-up car wreck, but that's normal. That's normal. You know what's not normal? I'm going to read to you something that's not normal. 14,000 people a day. The Border Patrol is estimating they will be making arrests of 14,000 illegal immigrants a day after the 21st. Probably the day of the 21st. That's 2 days from now. So nearly 7,500 encounters were recorded during a 3-day span last week in Border Patrol's El Paso sector. I worked that sector before, a couple different times. Worked right alongside Customs and Border Patrol. We were a sister agency, and we were out there helping support them in their various operations. And I'm telling you, that's a thankless job. That is a thankless job. I know most of the border agents, the senior guys that I was talking to, are so burned out, they don't even care anymore. They're just babysitters, taxis. And it's so sad to watch their career end up the way it is. $7,500 people caught in 3 days. Now we're getting footage of illegal aliens that are crossing the highway from various pedestrians as they're driving by. I mean, don't you think at some point in time the state needs to step in and say, we're going to enforce the border if the Border Patrol won't. And not that it's the Border Patrol's fault, but because of one judge in Washington, D.C. Think about this. One judge in Washington, D.C. said, no, in my opinion, this is unconstitutional. So, the stay-at-home Title 42 is going to be done with on this date. To me, I think this is all a big setup. That's the way it feels. It feels like this is all a big setup. Because not only are these people going to get voting rights, not only are they going to get everything that you don't get, free health care, car, phone, housing, food, internet, education, college education, but they're also going to have the ability to put their weight on that Democratic bloc whenever we tip the scales again for the next election. And just like many of you out there, who the hell trusts the election process anymore, right? So, no matter how much we come out and vote, if millions of people get here before 2024, well, I mean, there's a deciding factor. In Massachusetts, there was I think he was a senator, lost his race, a Republican senator, by one vote because they had to redo the vote count, and one vote. Yeah, tell me that's not a setup either. Around 4,600 illegals were being held at a facility that's Border Patrol Central Processing Center in El Paso, which was only designed to accommodate up to 1,040 people. I've been in these facilities. I've been in 3 or 4 of them. They're overcrowded. And they protest in there. People don't talk about that, but they'll protest. If they rioted, there's not very much you can do about it. Everything has to be handled with kid gloves. You have all these, different officials who want to come in there, and they want to just, if you're Border Patrol, man, you got to be on your P's and Q's, because your higher-ups, the current administration is ready to crucify you to the wall, like you're supposed to be an ornament in the White House if you do anything that they find to be, distasteful. I remember I showed up to drop off, I think it was like 10 or 15 people one time, and this lady, Border Patrol agent, she was coming back, and I held the door open for her, and she's sitting there complaining to me as we're, shuffling all of our people in, because they have to get all their medical screening done, and then you send them over to other places where they get all their other signature documents done and all that. And they get stripped out. They're only allowed like one shirt, one pant, pair of socks, one shoes. They can't have a backpack. I'm not even sure if they can have a cell phone. But all their documents, their money, they keep on to all that. But we're doing this process, and it's an exaggeratedly long process. And then here she comes, and she's got like this Walmart bag, and she's complaining. I'm like, what's going on? She said, well, I just had to go out and buy more diapers. And I just kind of laughed. It's like, can you believe we're going out and buying diapers because we're not getting the money to buy the diapers? And then they say they'll reimburse you, or you have to buy it with a purchase card. And a government purchase card typically limits $2,500 to $3,500. Everything for a baby: diapers, clothes, the formula, the ointment. And then guess who's changing the diapers? Border Patrol. Guess who's dressing some of the kids? Border Patrol. Guess who became a surrogate mom and dad overnight? Border Patrol. But these bastards from Washington, D.C., with their clean hands and dirty souls, will never go out and change a diaper. They'll never go out and make a bottle They'll never go out and fight some of these people that we have to chase down in the middle of the night when it's just one or two of us and there's 60 or 70 people coming across the border. Where are they at? This is why when you vote, you should investigate who it is that you're voting for. Because all these people say they're pro-border or anti-border. Ask if they've been to the border. And then from there, ask if they actually understand the border process. Most of them won't get their $3,000 suits dirty. My problem, once again, with politicians. Most of them are absolutely useless. At this point in time, besides Marjorie Taylor Greene and maybe a couple of other guys that's out there and a couple of the gals, I can't think of any of you that I don't think shouldn't go into the stockade. I mean, even our elected representatives and unelected representatives, like your judges, you know who's really tipping the scales right now in America are the judges. I find it strange with Carrie Lake that she got obviously screwed, and now a judge is going to hear her lawsuit and is already saying it's going to be waived. No, we don't care. Like, there's obvious fraud all over the color spectrum of illegal. And one judge, who obviously is not on America's side, is then going to just slam his gavel and said, nope, not going to hear this case. So where's the honesty in American politics? Well, the honesty in American politics lies with the honesty of your judges and your politicians. And guess what? There's been no honesty. With what I used to do in the government, when we were testing security systems, various different types of security systems for the government, one of the things that we would say as an inspector, which is one of the titles that I had, was, is the security system adequate? Is it not adequate, or is it degraded? So let's just say, for instance, there's a camera system. There's 10 cameras on this building. And as I'm looking at the multiplexer or whatever monitor, and I see all 10 cameras, and one of them is fuzzy to the point that I can't see facial identification. Well, then the entire video surveillance system is degraded. It's not adequate. Because that one camera could be where the dude or dudette, the would-be assassin, jihadist, right-wing, left-wing extremist, madman, psychopath, solo, guy, that one corner is where they got in and they got out, and we can't make facial ID. Your entire system's degraded. Get it fixed. That's what we used to tell people. Now, you'll find this very, very interesting. 9 times out of 10, they never fixed anything. We'll send, $40 billion to Ukraine, but I can't get a $900 camera. Think about that. So with America, now that my analogy is over, with America, we are a degraded system, falling closer to not adequate. Like non-functioning, not adequate. An adequate system of checks and balances would say that, Carrie Lake, there's obviously problems here. Me, being either in law enforcement, a attorney, or a judge, I'm going to be non-biased, go by the color of the law, and take my ego out of the fight, and then I'm going to hear your case, prosecute your case, or handle whatever criminal investigation there is based solely off of the totality of circumstances and be objectively reasonable. That's the standard that all law enforcement officers are held to, the objectionably reasonable test. Would anybody in this point in time, during this criminal case, do the same thing this officer did? If everybody says yes, then we pass the objectionable reasonable test. The problem is we're so hyperpolarized now in America that we're willing to screw ourselves over. We're willing to capsize the only lifeboat that we have left to say, at least we stuck it to Trump. And we didn't let those Trumpers get in. We didn't let those MAGA people get in. Isn't that right, Mitch McConnell? You traitor. All of them. Every one of them in 2020 who said they voted against Trump is a traitor to America. I ask, how many of them are getting monies? Because I know all the Democrats are. How many of the Republicans are getting monies from China? Because right now, who's pushing the fentanyl through the border that's just slurping its way through no matter how much security we put on the border? It's China. And what is that doing? It's destabilizing America. Because now, instead of having young fighting men, we have a bunch of drug addicts who are sexually depraved, who are heathenistic. Because the hegemony of America, which originally was supposed to be Christian, has been completely destroyed in this country, and there's not enough Christians to make a difference. Not on the political structure. I'll never take away the power of God. I wish God would come down right now and just reap the harvest. I'm done with this place. I don't want to be here no more. Maranatha, Jesus, come back. But until that day, we need to deal with reality. Reality is, if you live 100 miles of the border of the United States, get ready. Bad things are coming your way. Even right now, we got like the storm of the decade or 2 or 3 decades that's about to hit. I think it's Thursday. Today's Monday, December 19th. I think it's supposed to hit on the 22nd. That's going to be pretty bad. Arkansas is supposed to have 0 degrees. Oklahoma, North Texas, out where I'm at, we're supposed to get 0 degree weather. So be prepared. Don't wait the day before, or as the temperature plummets, go get your water now. Order your cord of wood now. Clean out your chimney now. All those things that you should be doing. Like today, I'm going to be ordering to get my natural gas refilled. Do it today. You know, you never know with winter storms. And as fragile as the grid is in Texas, I'm already guaranteeing we're going to lose power. And being the fact that I have a bunch of babies in the house, I kind of need my power. That's why I have a generator. Today, not only am I going to be cutting more wood and splitting more wood with a bad back. Boy, I wish I had one of those hydraulic log splitters when I had the chance. But I got to split the wood, stack the wood. I got to check the generator, order the natural gas, go get some water. Now, does any of that sound like I'm running around with my head cut off, saying the sky's going to fall? No. It just says that my priorities are heat because of the weather. It's going to be food and water, because if we lose power, my well is not going to have power and I'm going to not get water. And I have to choose between, do I use my generator to get power from the well, or will I use my generator to run heaters in the home? Which is also why I have electric heaters just staged off to the side for this very reason, right? So get yourself your priorities in order right now while you have the chance. There's more going on with this Title 42 that I want to read to you about. I just want to say, bad weather's coming. Just be ready. I'm not telling you to go out and buy $10,000 worth of gold and silver. I'm not trying to sell you $20,000, $30,000 worth of food. I'm telling you, just be prepared. That's all I'm doing. Either be prepared or prepare to be unprepared, and have fun with that one. Alright, so here's an article from the Epoch Times. Democrat-run cities declare emergencies amid illegal alien surge as Title 42 end looms. A number of Democratic-run cities have declared states of emergency or appealed for federal resources to help cope with the influx of illegal aliens into their communities. And as expectations build, the human flows will rise sharply when the Trump-era restrictions on asylum applications run out in just 2 days. Remember this, boys and girls. There's more than just COVID coming across the border. Tuberculosis, vaccine-resistant polio, typhoid, the plague, MERS, SARS, bird flu, various different types of fevers, people with pneumonia and bronchitis, people with all different types of blood-borne pathogens like HIV and AIDS. These are people that are going to be coming across the border who are not going to be screened for probably any of this. So be careful in a lot of different ways. And I will say this, I'm hearing more and more that this tri-pandemic, God, and I hate to even give credit to things like this, but that the tri-pandemic, this severe respiratory disorder that's happening right now is very, very dangerous for children. Now, being the daddy that I am, I hear of things like that, and I have to research it, and I have to figure out if it's valid or not. But for right now, and once again, all the credible sources of CDC that's not there anymore, and then your state health officials, are saying to take this seriously. So we're going to go ahead and take it seriously. Now, I'm not telling you medical practices, so YouTube, don't cancel me. Actually, I think my 2 strikes against me fell off on the 17th and the 19th. So, praise God. We're back for 3 more strikes. But what we use, especially during COVID, and it did help, but COVID was just bad, man. I had it, my wife had it for like 5 weeks. But we used a nebulizer, and then the saline solutions that come with the nebulizer, we were able to get a prescription that goes with it. And then we were taking colloidal silver and putting it in the nebulizer and just, doing probably at least 3 of those a day. So, the little nebulizer cup lasts about 10 minutes for the treatment. So we do a saline solution to start it off, and then you like morning saline solution, and like afternoon, if it was really bad, afternoon, then it would be colloidal silver, and then at the end of the night before we went to bed, colloidal silver again. I mean, I was doing it, my kids were doing it, my wife was having to be on that, and that, plus copious amounts of zinc and magnesium and vitamin D and blah blah blah. You got to do what you got to do. All right, you can join the fringe of saying this event wasn't real, or that all this is hocus pocus, or the sky is falling and the water is on fire. But all I ask is that take your health seriously. When sick people are around, sickness spreads. And now that we're having a big surge of people coming across the border, and this is no dig on the people coming across the border, you two, put down your pencils. They're going to be carrying diseases that America typically doesn't see, which means an American immune system typically doesn't have to fight these diseases. So, for people who are used to these types of disease, coming to an area where they don't have that type of disease, they already have the advantage. We are at a disadvantage because of our very compromised immune systems in America by not being exposed to, let's just say third world style living, right? So understand that these things happen and you need to be prepared for it. You can wait for World War III. You can wait for the Civil War. You can wait for the aliens to come down and, the Pope baptizes them and then, they're leading the choir the next Sunday. Or live in reality for a second and realize that with a great influx of people, a migration of disease follows them. That is historically documented. Historically documented. With a great influx of people during a migration, their disease follows them. And with a new culture who is not prone to having these same various types of diseases, you will be susceptible to it. There, I said it. We'll see if I survive the internet. Alright, so with the fast approaching end of Title 42, which is the authority that lets the U.S. officials quickly expel asylum seekers who have entered the country without authorization, the Biden administration has said that it's expecting a surge in illegal border crossings. After a federal judge set a December 21st deadline for Title 42 to end, the Department of Homeland Security, my old agency, said that it anticipates as many as 14,000 daily unauthorized border crossings. So, for all you boys and girls that are still at my old agency and for the rest of DHS, good luck. Godspeed. Wear your gloves. Hope you got enough Lysol spray. What is it that they issued us when COVID happened? They issued us cans of Lysol, like 2 of the little bottles of hand sanitizer, some extra latex gloves. They almost never had XL or double XL, which is so painful, because every time I put on a large glove, it just splits in half. But, the PPE supply, the personal protection equipment supply, just mysteriously ran out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're not going to talk about that one, are we? Anyways. That's not good practice to keeping yourself safe. But when it's all you have, you're going to use it, right? We had guys that were dousing themselves after every contact with every person. Switch a mask, switch gloves, hand sanitizer like their face and their hands, and then Lysol their entire body, and then Lysol their entire car. If you're in law enforcement, Lysol's not a bad idea to keep in your car, especially after getting like a dirty, nasty, sweaty person in cuffs in the back of your car. That's kind of like a known practice. We always Lysol afterwards, just because, once again, people carry disease and germs, and you're sitting in that car for, typically 10 to 12 hours a day. But I wonder what the government will issue you now. Because as I said, if the pandemic was as bad as they were telling us that it was, why weren't we wearing gas masks? Does anybody else remember? We were wearing masks, and then they said wear 2 masks, and then they said wear 3 masks, and then, well, COVID actually gets in your eyes. Ugh. God, now I gotta wear glasses, or you see people with the funny face shields. I mean, I saw all different types of stuff. And then you could have a face shield and you didn't have to wear a mask, but if you wore a mask, then you have to wear stuff for your eyes. I'm like, is it respiratory, or is this an eye infection? But I'd never get any answers. So, 14,000 daily unauthorized border crossings. How many of that do you think is going to be drugs, human trafficking, child sex trafficking, drug trafficking, weapons trafficking, terrorism trafficking? A lot. I'll just go ahead and say that. A lot. So amid growing expectations for a rise in the number of illegal border crossings, several Democratic-run cities have declared emergencies or asked for federal help. New York braces for an influx. New York City Mayor Eric Adams. I want you to listen to this absolute stupidity from what this guy says. This is absolute lunacy. Eric Adams, a Democrat, mayor of New York, said on Sunday that the looming expiration of Title 42 could force the city to slash public services to deal with a surge in illegal aliens. Quote, "Our shelter system is full, and we are nearly out of money, staff, and space. Truth be told, if corrective measures are not taken soon, we may very well be forced to cut or curtail programs New Yorkers rely on, and the pathway to house thousands is uncertain. We need a plan, we need assistance, and we need it now. And Eric Adams, you also need to pull your head out of your ass. Maybe, just thinking out loud here, maybe house all the migrants at Shea Stadium, or in the Jets Stadium, or the Giants. Nobody likes the Giants anyways. House them out there. Or the Buffalo Bills. Or Philadelphia. House them in the Eagles Stadium. But instead, they'll continue to make more encampments. And there's no right answer to this. Even though I'm saying house them in these, gigantic stadiums that you, the state, pay the NFL millions of dollars a year for. Maybe house them there. But instead, like what happened last time, they found barracks from the military, which got destroyed. Especially with the Afghan refugees, they got destroyed. Oh, did you know rapes happened too? We won't talk about that because that's facts. Look, there's no proper way to do this, and I can sit here and postulate, and I can pick on people, but this guy says we need a plan, we need assistance, we need it now. Close the freaking border. Close the border. One judge from Washington, D.C., a Democrat, should not be the reason we're about to go billions of dollars in the tank, risk millions upon millions of people coming across that border, who is going to endanger millions upon millions of people, who are going to drive prices through the roof on everything because it's going to drive our economy down. Or lock down the border. Which one sounds more racist? Which one sounds more humanitarian? Which one sounds more like America? Who am I? I'm nobody. Nobody's going to listen to me. There's nobody listening to me right now. I'm just a former Fed sitting in his spare bedroom on a failing chicken farm, just looking at the sky falling. That's what I feel like, right? That's probably what most of you feel like. I'm sure at least once a week, most of you who are listening, which is, right now it's about 3,000 to 4,000 people, I think, a day just on GS Radio, who knows, all the other various platforms. YouTube shadow bans the crap out of me, so who even knows there? But just consider this. You have these conversations all the time. You didn't have to go and get a college degree in politics and in law to understand that what's happening right now is unlawful. It's also politically suicidal. Politics drives America. America drives the politics. Right now, we're all on the same bus, and our greedy politicians are driving America to the edge of the cliff. Do we all sit there and say, man, all I had to do was just undo this seatbelt and I could go up there and stop this madman from driving us off a cliff? Who's with me? Or we can all look at each other like a bunch of lemmings and go, oh man, okay, you do it first. No, you do it first. Well, I'm not going to do it until 30 other people do it. And then you'll have the one guy in the back with a sign, "Anarchy now, man." That's what America's come to. Greg Abbott. I guess I commend your actions of trying to halt this problem that we're having at the border. I have a serious question. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to draft up more legislation? Does legislation put feet in boots and boots in cars and cars on the border, stopping the people coming across? No. Are you going to engage the Texas military and send them on a lovely crusade to the border? If so, can they stretch from, Brownsville to El Paso? Can they stop anybody? Will they stop anybody? If they do stop anybody, what do? Tell them to turn back around? What if they decide not to turn back around? Are you going to have your Texas National Guard going and crossing the United States and Mexico border and physically pushing people back across? What are we doing? Who has a plan? Which one of you pricks with a tie has an actual plan for what we're supposed to be doing? Everybody has legislation. Everybody has an idea. Who has an actual plan? And typically it's crickets. Now once again, Doug would never be allowed in this type of an environment because I could probably formulate a plan in like 3 minutes that would make sense, and I think most of you would probably make the same plan, but probably in 30 seconds. Build the wall and enforce the border law. If you come across the wall, zip zip, you're under arrest. You don't get released into the border, into the country. But for the fact of I've been there, I've seen it, what happens? People cross the border. If Border Patrol is within the area, they would catch them. They would process them. They'd take them to a process center who would further process them, and they'd be released. Here's your court date. Welcome to America. I'm sure we'll never see you again. So they ask, we need a plan, we need assistance, and we need it now. No, we need leaders. We don't need politicians. We need leaders. Let me ask the Pentagon this question. I don't think the Pentagon's filled full of traitors, even though I think Congress is. If your political leaders endanger the country, isn't it your job to then step in and protect us? It's just a thought. And if the head of the DOD won't do it, and if the Joint Chiefs of Staff refuse to play, then I ask the same question that I've asked multiple times. I'd love to have a constitutional lawyer have a conversation with me on the air about this. What are we Americans allowed to do, and what are we supposed to do? When we are losing the fabrics of our country, do we just watch it come apart string by string, star by star, stripe by stripe? Or do we do something about it? It's a very hard question, and I understand that most people don't want to answer that question because if you do, this federal government will come after you. This, as they say they will, this federal government will say that you're a dissenter, that you're pushing misinformation, malinformation, disinformation, that you're a domestic terrorist, that you're a violent extremist. Oh, you voted for Trump? Stick him right next to Osama bin Laden. Let's keep reading. The governors of Arizona and Texas have repeatedly sent busloads of people to Chicago, Washington, D.C., and New York. Oh, by the way, Arizona, that's going to stop. That's going to stop because you just got a Democratic governor. So while the flow of illegal aliens to New York has slowed in recent months, Mayor Adams said that the expiration of Title 42 means that beginning today we should expect an influx of buses coming from the border. Expect it. The buses are being paid for by George Soros, by your Democratic Party, your friends, and then the federales will give them convoy security escort from wherever their place of origin is, where the buses pick them up, and all the way from southern Mexico to northern Mexico. There's the American border. Get out. Vaya. Which means run. Or the cartel does it. I think it's I think the fact that they're saying that they need help and that they're worried about the border, the Democratic cities are worried about the border because the Democrats are fixing to make the border non-existent, is hysterical. In a very satirical way, it's hysterical. We are in urgent need for help, and it's time for our state and federal partners to act. That's what this mayor says. I think you're right. We are in urgent need to not have Democrats anywhere around a position of power ever again. I'm not saying Republicans are the saving grace, but currently you fight the enemy in front of you. The Democrats are destroying the country, along with the rhinos right beside them. Our politics have failed. They failed. You know what? Even better, our laws work. Actually, our politics work. Our politicians have failed us because they failed to follow the law, to follow the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. They failed to uphold their oath to you, to me, to we the people. And if you're a politician, or you're a member of the politicians that I'm consistently railing against, and you would like to open up a dialogue with me, you can email me. Come prepared. You can email me, though. The New York mayor urged the White House and Congress to issue temporary work authorizations for asylum seekers and send aid to the cities that have borne the brunt of the crisis. Dude, you bore the brunt of the crisis because you wanted to be, what was it, the sanctuary city. That's why your criminals have a sanctuary. Well, here's a few more people add to your sanctuary. With love, from Texas. Here's thousands of more people. This is what you want. It's what you're going to get. Denver, on verge of reaching breaking point. The city of Denver declared a state of emergency on December 15th in order to stave off a local humanitarian crisis amid an influx of illegal aliens from the southern border. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock, a Democrat, wow, I'm seeing a pattern here, announced the emergency as several hundred illegal aliens, mostly from Central and South America, arrived in the state over the course of just several days preceding his declaration. Quote, "Let me be frank. This influx of migrants, the unanticipated nature of their arrival, and our current space and staffing challenges have put an immense strain on city resources to the level where they're on the verge of reaching a breaking point at this time. What I don't want to see is a local humanitarian crisis of unsheltered migrants on our hands because of a lack of resources. Well, you got enough resources for dope. Why don't you give them all some weed and tell them to chill out by the trees as the big snowstorm comes in? You better have a response. You wanted this. You're going to take it. You're going to deal with this. You want these people. You want these policies. You want this brave new world. Well, here's some more citizens for it. Stop bitching and complaining. We're just giving you what you want. According to Hancock's office, more than 900 aliens have arrived in Denver over the past several months. Boo-hoo! 900 aliens? That's a day on the Texas border. That's a slow day. 900 aliens? Aliens. God. I keep thinking about actual aliens when I say that word. People. 900 people cross the border from South America and Central America. Cross the border from countries that are filled with violence and communism, totalitarianism, dictatorships, and ran by literally devil-worshipping, human-sacrificial gangs called cartels. Enjoy your new citizens. Some of them continue those roots in America. Just like recently in Tennessee, human heart found in a salt warehouse on the side of the road. You know, the salt where they get out and they actually salt the road before it snows and freezes. Yeah. Oh, here's a preserved human heart. Oh, I wonder how it got there. Here's one thing I would say, and I'm curious, is I want to hear from the hospital staff that have to deal with this crap. What do you think about this? Because it's your life on the line. Because every one of these people who comes across the border comes to every one of those damn hospitals for every reason in the world. If they got a scratch on them, take them to the hospital. That's what we were told to do. And then we had to sit there on them for 12 hours a shift. Any medical problem at all, paid for by you. So, for all you doctors and for all you nurses, if you got an opinion on that, I won't tell your name at all. I'm not that type of person. But you can email me. Because I've been in 3 or 4 of those hospitals in El Paso. I know what it's like. Mayor Hancock of Denver said in a post on Twitter that Denver is in urgent need of shelter workers to help cope with the influx of people from Central and South America, with the city offering $25 an hour, and so desperate to fill the posts that the mayor said it's even willing to consider candidates who don't speak Spanish. $25 an hour used to be quite a lot. The expected surge in the number of illegal aliens has put extreme pressure on the city's efforts to provide them with shelter, with Hancock's office warning that the winter weather was set to make the situation much worse. Absolutely it's going to, but you wanted this transcontinental words I can't say on the internet because of FCC regulations. You wanted this freaking crap. You wanted this. All of you Democrats and neocons, you wanted this. The Trilateral Commission. You want it to be a unified North America. Just like what's going to happen, was it next year with the World Cup? It's going to be the North American World Cup. Because they won't announce what place it's going to be held at. That's because the Trilateral Commission, Dave Hodges could talk your ear off about this one. The goal with that was to merge Canada and Mexico with the United States in the middle, and to build highways from one reaching to the other. And then we were going to have like this group of like 20 politicians and company executives or whatever that were going to be on a board-like membership, and they were going to determine how the new North American government was going to work. That was a real proposed idea. In Arizona, I think it was Doug Ducey, the Governor Doug Ducey, was actually leading the way in that. Mayor Hancock said that Denver was on the verge of reaching a breaking point, and that with the looming lapse of Title 42, the city is at a crisis point, and cities all over this country are being forced to deal with something we're not equipped to deal with. Brother, give me a break. El Paso holds 5,000 illegals right now. 5,000. That's like a couple prisons added together and above that population still. And they're dealing with it every day. Every day. And I can only speak about that area because I know a lot of those Border Patrol guys who work there, and I've worked there. I've also worked in the Rio Grande Valley area, and it's just as bad there. But why do they hit El Paso so hard? Because it's a Democratic city. That's why. They know they'll be taken care of. And that's why the cartel funnels them there to it. These politicians know what I'm talking about, by the way. They know what I'm talking about. They are very, very aware of everything I just said. They just ignore it. El Paso braces for incredible jump in illegal aliens. Alright, we'll read this and then I gotta get off, guys. I gotta get ready for next episode of Enemies of the State, which is a new episode, new series that I'm starting. Where are my notes? Somewhere around here I have notes about it. Enemies of the State series is something that I'm going to take as seriously as possible. And the next episode is going to be Jesus, Enemy of the State. So stay tuned for that one tomorrow. And we're going to continue down this path. We're going to talk about Rome. We're going to talk about Communist China. I got some stuff on Communist China. And by the way, thank you Epoch TV, the Epoch News, for a amazing, absolutely amazing documentary called The Final War. This was outstanding to sit here and watch. I mean, it's like 2.5 hours long. But 30 minutes into it, I had to restart it to start taking notes. And I know quite a bit about, China and a bunch of stuff that's happening over there. But man, holy crap, they knocked it out of the water. So make sure you watch that. The Final War, Epoch TV. That's an awesome documentary to watch. But we're going to talk about the Roman Empire, the Vatican Empire. We're going to talk about all the empires that persecute Christians who are the actual enemies of the state. The followers of God are the real enemies of the state. That's why everything you see right now with politics, surrounding religion, surrounding sexuality, condemning Christian actions, condemning our faith, but they don't condemn their faith in the Green New Deal, or in, all their bizarre beliefs. They don't condemn the faith of the Church of Satan. They don't condemn the faith of men dressing up as little girls and then going and doing drag queen strip shows for little kids. No, they won't talk about that. And I'm surprised I'm still even on YouTube, because I talk about that stuff all the time. Because that's what's real. That's what's affecting you. Short story on El Paso. Expect a couple thousand people every day. Or more. I mean, a while ago, 14,000 people a day to cross the border. 14,000 people a day. So that's probably going to be like 1,500 to 2,000 people a day in the El Paso sector alone. I was there whenever the big border jump hit back in 18. I think we had 3,000 people in one day just in the El Paso sector. So, you know, and we couldn't manage it then. We can't manage it now. So I don't know what our government's going to do. I don't have faith in them. I don't know what our state and local representatives are going to do. I don't have faith in them. And I feel horribly bad for the men and women of the Border Patrol and Customs and Border Patrol, because there's two sides. There's a blue side and a green side. So I feel bad for both agencies, because you're taking the blunt end of this sledgehammer that's being forced upon you. It's being forced upon you by your government, and they don't care about you. That's why your unions are no good. That's why your vacations are being canceled. That's why you're not being allowed to transfer out of your areas. How long can you stay a good guy with good morals in a corrupt system? That's the question I have for many of you. America, we got some problems. I'll see you next show. Take care. For any of you who are worrying about this winter storm, go out and get your essentials now, today, please. Be prepared. Don't be caught off guard. Stay frosty. The enemy's out there.
Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum has said, "You will own nothing and you will love it." And that's represented by what's going on across the planet today, where the economy of the world is in free fall, and nowhere is it more in evidence than with our own President Biden deliberately trying to sabotage what we have. Access to food, other resources. So Americans are in a unique position, really for the first time in our history. We're going to have to provide for ourselves or subject ourselves to the whim of the government. Do you really trust a government to feed you that left 1,000 Americans behind enemy lines in Afghanistan? I don't think so. So where do you go? When you ask the question, who's the best prepper out there today? There's only one answer. Ready Made Resources and Robert Griswold. I call him King Prepper, and that's how a lot of people think of him. You have everything there you'd want, from night vision to storable food, how to prepare cooking in emergency situations, books and videos on how to prepare alternative energy, communication, first aid that you wouldn't think of, natural antibiotics, you name it, Bob has it. Now, here's the good thing about Bob Griswold that no one else does but him. You don't have to buy anything to talk to him. If you're not sure where to start with your preparation, no obligation phone call directly to Bob. You can talk to him for free. Most people will charge you an arm and a leg for a half-hour conversation. That's not Bob Griswold. He cares about helping America get prepared. Go to readymaderesources.com, or you can call the number directly at 800-627-3809. Again, that contact information, readymaderesources.com, for the best prepping outfit in the country, or call Bob Griswold directly, 800-627-3809.
Mountain State Survival covers your basis for your planning, prepping, evacuation, bugging in or bugging out needs. They carry anything from educational material, camping supplies, emergency services supplies, food, first aid, survival kit and equipment, shooting gear, survival gear, tactical gear. They carry it all. They got it in stock. Give Mountain State Survival a ring. That's mountain-state-survival.com. Get this type of supplies while you still can. 304-517-6935. Mountain State Survival is one of the only places that I know of currently that is still carrying the delicious Peak Refuel meal that is ready to eat. It's personally the only thing that I eat at this point whenever I go out camping, whenever we have any type of emergency or disaster situation. That is the meal that I stick with, and you can find that at mountain-state-survival.com. Use REKKR5 for a 5% discount on your overall purchase. That's REKKR 5. mountainstatesurvival.com. This show on the Heroes Nation app. Heroes Nation is the Heroes Nation app you can download in the App Store. It's up and coming. They got a lot of cool information on there. That is the main backup site so far for the American Vindicta show. We'll also have some stuff on there that won't be on YouTube. It won't be on Rumble. It'll either be only on the gsradio.net, who is the host of the American Vindicta show, or it will only be an exclusive for Heroes Nation. And with that, I mean, stuff that we're doing with the cave exploration, with the archaeological stuff. I'm going to start getting into a lot of paranormal talks and, coming at that from my law enforcement and Christian perspective, and be having guests on, and that will be exclusive to Heroes Nation. So make sure that you give them some love. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, everybody, for supporting me. God bless you, and have a good day.